You know what I mean?
Excellent question, right? So, excellent question. So, the young man asked, do I see anything coming out of this, right? Or will people just go home and go back to their regular lives? And my response would be, it's going to be a mixed situation, right? It's going to be a mixed situation where those who serious or those who really want to make something happen, they're going to go and make a change. They're going to dig. They're going to take this energy, if you will, right? And they're going to go and work on themselves. They're going to look in the mirror and work towards some level of transformation. But you're going to always have a great amount of the masses. They're going to go back to, this is today, right? This is the rally for the day. This is the cause for the day. This is the issue for the day. This is the hashtag for the day, right? And tomorrow we'll move on to the next one, right? So you're going to always have that great percentage of people, but you also will have the latter, which again are those who are serious, who really are about this, not just talking about it, right? Because anything that, if we want to see some change, it's going to require some action, some work, some sacrifice from us, right? So for those of us who are really serious about it, they're going to do something with it. And so that's my response to that question.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. Yeah, 40 years old, right?
I am.
So with that being said, unfortunately, this is not the first time that a problem like this has happened in your lifetime. What would you say a difference is between the protests now and the protests back in the day? I would say, from what I've learned and what I've been taught, that there's a lot more diversity in these crowds here. I don't know if you can speak on the diversity of the crowds of the people in the past when terrible things like this happen, or yeah.
So let's be specific, right? Again, bit of his story. What's up, nephew? Which incident were we talking about in the past? Give me an incident, right? So okay, so
that was 2012, right?
That was 2012. Rodney King was around 92,
yeah.
Right? So let's give some context from 92 to 2012 to 2020. Diversity in the crowd, this one town, okay? Another thing in my 40 years is 50 states. I think I've been to 38 of them. I move around, right? I travel. So as far as the diversity, I absolutely think right now I get to teach. I'm a professor, right? I've had several classes. Out of a class of about 30 people, sometimes in 30 students, I might have 10 different ethnicities. So one, the layout of America is is a little different now, right?
That's a great point,
Meaning that you have a whole lot more diversity now. And then number two, because of social media, right? Because of this population of young people, and I will say this, right? The college age, 18 to 25, I think there's a lot of pluses and minuses to social media, but I'm proud of that group, okay? So why there's so much diversity now is because we get to communicate today in the last 5-10 years with people across the globe like this, right? We don't worry about a long distance call. You can do all of these things, right? So absolutely, the level of diversity has evolved, if you will, as far as the response to when issues do occur.
Interesting. I just had one more question. So a lot of the anger and the energy, I guess, I see from like a Fox or like a CNN, blah blah blah. It seems as if there's a lot of anger that's misguided. And if you see people in the past, you had your MLK, you had your Malcolm X. Do you feel like the black voice is just essentially missing a direction? As in like a person that communicates what people are feeling and directs the energy into a productive matter opposed to a destructive matter. Because the thing that hurts my heart to see is, I get it, you know what, it sucks, blah blah blah, but black people, we are destroying our own communities because we're upset that they're killing black people, which only puts us further behind. What would you say about that?
All right, that's a whole lot of questions, comments, thoughts. First of all, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself black? Are you black?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I asked that question for a particular reason, right? So, give me the latter part of what you said. You said black people are destroying their communities because of what now?
Because they are upset of the injustice that happens to black people.
Right. All right. So,
for Black Lives Matter, and we really try to help them out on the map and support. If you would love to support, I believe.
Okay. So, first of all, I don't buy into, subscribe to the notion that black people destroying our community. That's just absolutely not happening, okay? So there's violence going on as a response to the anger and to the apathy. Malcolm X, who you bring up, El Haj, Malik El Shabazz, and my great fraternity brother, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right? So some of the things that they talked about, Malcolm X in particular, he talked about a powder keg, and at a certain point, when something is shaken up and those things get together, you're gonna have an explosion. Okay. Between the things that have occurred on this globe in 2020 alone, and we just at half of the year.
Right, halfway.
People angry, upset, frustrated. We give you something, and someone brought up the aftermath of the civil rights movement. But when Dr. Martin Luther King got killed, I want y'all to understand this in context. The people that look like me and a bunch of our Latino brothers and people around the globe, right? Marginalized, oppressed population, they were ready to burn America down, okay? So this is not the first time that this happened. Again, they were ready to burn America down.
For 8 straight days, right?
Yeah. Exactly, right? In other places, it went on a little longer, right? But that was the height of that, and then it had to be quelled. Because again, right? So I'm gonna go back to your earlier comment about why are certain notions and media ideas promoted.
Right.
They know what they're doing, right? Yeah. Again, this is nothing new, okay? Go look up something called COINTELPRO, right? The counterintelligence program from the FBI. Okay. These things are strategized. Who runs the news, right? So again, let's be careful, and I encourage anyone to watching, listening, be mindful of what's the source that you listen to. Something I convey to my students, if you're talking about, well, they said this or I read it. Well, who wrote it? Go to the source, like for real. You can't look up something and go to Wikipedia. We go on Wikipedia right now and change something, okay? So consider the source. So regarding the news, if it bleeds, it leads, okay? Mm-hmm. Right? So they benefit by promoting mess, by promoting destruction, by highlighting all of the ugliness of this. And then one thing I heard in the rally was stop taping and what did it say? Stop
and do something.
And do something. Watch this.
Put your phones down
and help. And help. Watch this. The media, that's their, like literally, that's their job is to keep you entertained. And oh, look at this, look at that. Okay, that's another reason. Very rarely do I watch the news because I know better.
Smart man.
Right? And then if you're going to go get some news, make sure you consider the source. Okay? So you had several things in those questions. I just addressed those.
One last thing was, and here Mufasa talked a lot about not only using your voice to change today, but taking that to the polls and taking that using, supporting Black-owned businesses. When it comes time to vote, and there's really only 2 candidates, Trump or Joe Biden, essentially you choose the lesser of 2 evils. So with that being said, do you vote? Because to me it's like they are both bad and neither of them do anything for our community. What does a young person do? In that, where both options are just bad, you really don't win, but you have to let your voice be heard via the ballots. What would you say about that?
Well, another great question. What I would say about it is, I go back to fall of 2016. I'm on the campus of University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, finishing my doctorate. I'm teaching. I'm a TA. And I'm teaching a communications course. And my students, watch this, election season, right? So I remember the day after the election, apologizing to them because most of my students, freshmen, sophomore, they're 18, 19. This is their first, and many of you it's probably your first time voting, right?
Yeah,
so that was their first time voting, and they had to vote either for
Hillary Clinton,
Trump, or Hillary Clinton. Okay, both of them had all this scandal and all this mess. So it's basically, I look at it as if you're telling me I gotta eat one of these things. Either you gonna take the plate of vomit or the plate of feces. Okay? Guess what? I'm not picking either one. So when it boils down to it, you want to be active in the political process and respect your vote. But I personally do not believe in choosing of the lesser of 2 evils, because there's another option. I will write in a name before I pick vomit or garbage. I won't do that. But the challenge in it all, again, it's a tough reality that this is what we have to choose from. If anything else, since you bring the question up, what I'm clearly reminded, and there was an incident in Chicago Public Schools back in 2012, I believe it was, where they shut down like 60 public schools in Chicago, okay? Almost 60 schools, 50 plus of them were all black and Latino schools. And the message to me was very clear, right? If we didn't know before then, they're telling you, they do not care about your children. It's not their job to educate your children. If you're poor, you of color, it's not my responsibility to educate your children. It's on you, right? So the same token with these candidates, with these in the political process, I think what we've seen here in the election of a person like a Donald Trump, right, is the apathy of, is this really what we're about? Now watch this. This is the thing that I appreciate. Somebody that's a racist on the inside and somebody that has a shirt on that says, I'm a racist. At least you see what you're dealing with. Right. With Trump, clearly we know what we're dealing with. Yep. But the world has made that selection. Okay? This is what, it's a reflection of really what's inside the hearts and minds of the values, right? Of the priorities, of the character, of what we're looking for. So again, I'm not surprised that what we're dealing with, because this is a reflection of what's out here.
What is truly in people's hearts. I would say that in 2016, we saw that racism hasn't gone anywhere. We've seen that greed has not gone anywhere. And yeah, it was just a very eye-opening experience. And like he said, change is not comfortable, and at times it just takes a slap in the face to wake up. Hey, I appreciate you taking all my questions, all right?
Thank you.
Absolutely, brother.
Take care. I'm going to give you a call.